Can I persuade you to take a sandwich with you, sir?
I'll get drive-through.
Have you ever been haunted by a single mistake that seems to follow you throughout your whole life? Well, the director that I'm going to talk about now, and this will probably be one of the most controversial videos in this list, suffered greatly in the public eye for one black spot in his career. But I am here to ensure that he gets the credit he deserves. I originally wasn't a fan of Joel Schumacher, but it was out of complete bias because I was a huge fanatic for Tim Burton. And when I heard that Tim Burton had been booted out of the Batman franchise and replaced by Joel Schumacher, I had a bias against Joel Schumacher for that simple reason. I have since developed a love for him and his work. Now, before I launch into this, I'm going to pre-emphasize everything that I say by saying Joel Schumacher has he's passed away, a very distinct style. The best words I can think of to describe it is flamboyant and sexualized. The thing is, a lot of people hold this against him, but I don't understand why. Why are people afraid of sexuality? Still, in this day and age, why? Why are people afraid of flamboyancy? There's nothing wrong with these things. They're not, at least in my mind, immediately associated with bad things, with poor quality. It's just a different style. And when you grow to appreciate that style and the beauty in the production designs of his movies, which inherently exist, you appreciate them all the more. He'd been working in the film industry for ages, but he really rose to prominence in the 80s. That really makes sense because his particular style has a very 80s feel. It's very colorful. It announces itself. It's not subtle. Again, people say this means that it's bad. I don't agree. It's just different. It's a different style. It's not a style that everyone is used to. It was a style that everyone was used to, but now times have changed. More muted, darker tones has become more popular. The first film I'm going to talk about is The Lost Boys, which he did in 1987. It is a vampire film, and it's a work of brilliance. It's one of my favorite vampire films ever made. It's a horror comedy. It's about a gang of teenage vampires, headed by Kiefer Sutherland. It is bright, it's colorful, it's flamboyant, it's all of those things. It's very 80s, but it's also very dark. Part of the thing that I love about Joel Schumacher is that he can be very dark and very sinister. It doesn't shy away from the horror aspect, and it has some genuinely frightening scenes and confronting imagery. That's such a unique blend that I haven't seen in any other filmmaker, which makes him totally untouched in terms of his visual style.
You're a creature of the night, Michael. Just like out of a comic book. You're a vampire, Michael. My own brother, a goddamn shit-sucking vampire. Oh, you wait till Mom finds out, buddy.
And there seems to be two very distinct sides in Joel Schumacher's work. There are things like The Lost Boys, which is very fanciful, where impossible things can breathe and grow, but some of his films are very grounded in reality, and they are, again, quite confronting, but for different reasons. They do not shirk away from very serious subject matter that exists in the world that we live in and is very important. Now, the first of such films I'm going to talk about is called The Client, which is based on a book by John Grisham, and it features Tommy Lee Jones, Susan Sarandon, and the young but unfortunately late Brad Renfro. And it's a courtroom drama about a boy who witnesses a suicide and is told information that is very valuable to the FBI and to the mafia, and he gets caught between these two worlds. Both worlds try to take advantage of him because of his youth, and Susan Sarandon plays a lawyer who sees a boy in need and offers to help, basically as an act of charity. And it's such a wonderful and emotionally driven film. The tension and the suspense is almost Hitchcockian, masterfully done. Anyone who has anything negative to say about Joel Schumacher should watch The Client and bite their tongues, because it is a clear example of a brilliant director with the right material telling a great thriller story. It's a work of art. It's a brilliant film, and I recommend it to everybody.
You boys attempted to interrogate a child outside the presence of his mother without her consent. He specifically asked you if he needed a lawyer, and you said no, stating as one of your reasons the idea that lawyers are a pain in the ass. I'd like to confer with my client and meet with you people in my office tomorrow around, say, 3 o'clock. And if I need anything from you boys, like the truth, well, I expect to get it.
Then, of course, he did Batman Forever. Now, there is a spoken and unspoken acceptance in the Batman fandom that Joel Schumacher's two Batman films, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, are the worst in the whole franchise. I disagree. I am not going to defend Batman and Robin because I think that, yeah, but I am going to defend Batman Forever. First, we'll establish the context. The last Batman movie that was made was Batman Returns. In order to entice back Tim Burton after he did the first movie, was to allow him complete creative control and make it a Tim Burton Batman movie. The problem is, that's exactly what he did. It was very dark, very stylistic, and it was very violent, and had some genuinely scary scenes. And this rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. The movie absolutely tanked. It's now considered a cult classic. So what you gotta understand is Joel Schumacher was working from the treatment of brighter, child-friendly Batman. And it's hard to deny that's exactly what he delivered on. But outside of that, it is generally agreed Batman is a dark, gritty character who lives in a dark, gritty world, and any other depiction of him that is not fitting to this type is incorrect. There isn't one definitive Batman. There are hundreds of Batmans interpreted by different artists and writers all throughout history. It's very generation based as well. There are people who say, like myself, Michael Keaton is the definitive Batman. I know people who definitively say Adam West is the only Batman for them. People forget the Adam West Batman TV series was incredibly popular. People laugh at it now, but they were laughing at it then. That's the point. It was a comedy. I am going to argue just because this is the Joel Schumacher Batman, where it's much more flamboyant and bright and colorful, does not make it a bad Batman. I like the new take on Batman. It's not my personal favorite take. And I also love the fact, true to Joel Schumacher's directorial style, there is still a darkness to that story. It has some incredibly dark moments. And there's a thread of psychology to it, almost more than Tim Burton's Batman movies. You got Batman, the Riddler, and Two-Face, who are very psychologically driven characters. And yes, there is hammy over-the-topness. To a degree, there is always a level of hamminess in comic book movies because the characters are inherently larger than life. I will agree that in Batman Forever there are moments where it goes a bit over the top. Tommy Lee Jones' version of Two-Face, but he still has some brilliant moments where that darkness comes back into it. And it's one of the best depictions of the Riddler in terms of the way he's psychologically driven. For all that said about Val Kilmer, he made a very good Bruce Wayne and Batman. He did. Chris O'Donnell, not a huge fan of Robin. I used to hate him, but he's grown on me. He made a good Robin. Now we come to the issue of the nipples on the Batsuit. I am here even to defend that. His explanation, they were based on Greek statues of heroes. Batman and Robin and characters like that are essentially the new Greek heroes. I think that's inspired. But, you know, those people say, oh, it inappropriately sexualized characters and stuff like that. I don't think it did. Look at the comics. Look at most depictions of Catwoman. A lot of them have her boobs bursting out of an outfit. Big butts, big boobs, big everything. People will very quickly to go, oh, that's okay. Nipples on the Batsuit? No. Inappropriate. We don't like that. That's stupid. Double standards, in my opinion.
Was that over the top? I can never tell.
Okay, well, this is seeming like it's going to be a long one, so I'm going to make it a two-parter. Hope you're enjoying it. Like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell me what you think of it so far. No hate, please. We're not about that. Follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram. Keep watching movies, and I'll see you when I see you.